Giorgio Cafiero. He's the CEO of Gulf State Analytics and joins us from Washington. Mr. Cafiero, good to speak with you. Now, what does the news of this corruption do to the humanitarian effort?
Well, I don't think that this report is necessarily a huge surprise. Obviously, the Houthi rebels have had to funnel a lot of money into the war efforts to sustain their fight against the Saudi-led coalition for the past number of years. Yemen is a country that's been dealing with corruption for a very, very long period of time. And it's not a huge surprise that the UN-recognized government was guilty of these real crimes. I think, though, at this point, it's going to be important to see how U.S. foreign policy in relation to Yemen changes. The Trump administration was targeting the Houthi rebel movement within the context of its maximum pressure campaign against Iran. This UN report also provided further evidence of the strong support that Iran has given to the Houthi rebels. And I think those in Washington who supported the Trump administration's approach to the Houthi rebels, the tail end of Trump's presidency, are going to try to use this report to sort of justify a continuation of the terror designation, which right now is one of the most sensitive foreign policy files that the new U.S. administration is starting to take on.
And do you think, as you mentioned, the new administration will be able to disentangle from its designation, perhaps, of the Houthi as a terrorist organization and the sanctions imposed, and still try and provide some sort of aid to the tens of millions of Yemeni civilians who are suffering? It's the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now.
Yeah, there is a famine in Yemen that's taking place. UN officials said that at the start of this month, there were about 50,000 people in Yemen starving to death, about 5 million not too far behind. So, the stakes are really, really high. We're talking about so many people's lives on the line, and that brings us to the point about this terror designation, the foreign terrorist organization designation. The Biden administration essentially decided to freeze that designation for 30 days, which is, in my opinion, a very positive thing because it will help humanitarian groups do what they need to do to help the people who are in parts of Yemen controlled by the Houthis. Now, having said that, this is just a freeze for 30 days. This was not a complete reversal of the designation. And so what some UN officials are saying is that given the uncertainty about how the Biden administration will ultimately move on this issue, there are still problems with the humanitarian aid because organizations are not wanting to help right now, given all of this uncertainty. So still very, very problematic, but at least to the credit of the Biden administration, it seems that this freezing of the designation can at least do something to hopefully somewhat alleviate some of this extreme suffering on the ground in Yemen.
Absolutely remains to be seen. Giorgio Cafiero from Gulf State Analytics, we appreciate your insight.